He had made it to the top, or let's say almost to the top, if not for his premature death in the age of 46, thanks to his weak heart. Born as a merchant's son in the provincial city of Klagenfurt in Austria, his career led him to the biggest building sites in Europe, like Ringstrasse in Vienna. Furthermore, he was a main designer for a huge international company based in Vienna, which was producing and selling furnitures, tapestries, and fabrics, and which popularity can be compared to a certain Swedish furnishing house we know from nowadays. He also made his way to Istanbul in order to design furniture for the Turkish Sultan Palais. He also designed one of the flagship stores in one of the first of the European shopping malls in Milan, Milano in Italy, in so-called Galleria Victor Emanuele. His name was Gustav Gugitz, and he was born in the year 1836 in the corner house on the new square in Klagenfurt. Like mentioned before, his parents were coming from the family of merchants. They possessed few houses in Klagenfurt, that's irrelevant. So, nevertheless, his father was very active in the city council. Gustav was the youngest of the siblings, and his destiny was to become a railway engineer. The railroads were back then, in the 40s, 50s of 19th century, developing very strongly, and the need for the good engineer was increasing with every year. In order to become a good engineer, you need to not only learn math, physics, but also drawing. His first drawing teacher in Klagenfurt was called Friedrich Simoni. He was originally from Bohemia, was a geologist, and a director of the Museum of the Natural History in Klagenfurt. Gugitz's father, Josef, was very well acquainted in the Klagenfurt society. Not only was he a city council, he also had a lot of contacts among the architects community in the city, with his main architect, the city architect Venchiarutti, who was originally from Italy. Maybe this friendship with Venchiarutti, this close contacts, maybe this was an inspiration for Gustav to change a bit his point of interest, and he moved more from being an engineer towards being an architect. Very soon, family left Klagenfurt and moved to Vienna. Gustav started his education there on Polytechnicum Vienna, which was a predecessor of today's Technical University. After that, he started to learn practical things. Among others, he was taking part at the construction of Votivkirche. This was the first time when he was taking part in the huge construction site where there were a lot of handworkers, not only architects, not only stone workers, not only carpenters, but many, many others. One has to keep in mind that this was in the 19th century when so-called building communities started to appear. One was more aware that all the branches actually should work together in order to gain a proper, nicely finished work of art, so-called Gesamtkunstwerk. Votivkirche was the first bigger experience for Gustav, and after this experience he decided to prolong his education, and he inscribed to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna. There it was already clear that he will become an architect, because he took an architect classes in the atelier of two renowned architects. One of them was August Sickardsburg, and the other Edward van der Nul. You most probably know the Viennese Opera House. This is their biggest realization, which they built and which they designed and built together. Unfortunately, the Viennese Opera House was not that well received from the politics and also from the society. So, as a legend has it, it caused actually the death of both main architects. One of them got a heart attack and the other committed suicide. After both of them died before the building was finished, it was Gustav with his friend Josef Stork who led the construction to the end. It was again another huge and very important experience for him. Viennese Opera House was not only one of the first Ringstrasse buildings, it was also actually later on it was also recognized as one of the best and one of the very, very well executed, decorated. Thousands of people were working to finish it. And actually, similar thing like with Viennese opera to Van der Nul and Sickardsburg, similar story happened to Gustav. In the 70s of 19th century, he got an opportunity to design a masterpiece, a very important building for his home city Klagenfurt. The city council, together with different other organizations, like a historic organization of the city, decided to build a museum. It was supposed to be so-called Landesmuseum, so the museum for the whole city of province was supposed to host not only the works of art, but also archaeological artifacts, as well as a part of already existing museum of the natural history. So there was a need for a huge building with a good accessibility for the public and also with a lot of space to display all the objects. The city of Klagenfurt donated a piece of land, which was a very, very prominent location. It was on the street which was also only recently under construction of new houses. On one side, there was already standing huge office building of so-called Montana Gesellschaft, so kind of something like a mining company with a lot of offices and very, very representative. And on the other side of this little land piece, there was an agriculture school, Ackerbauschule, which was actually also a building designed by Gustav. But it was the Landesmuseum which actually became Gustav opus magnum. Thanks to his father's connection, Gustav got the assignment to design the museum. He did it pro bono, he didn't charge for it whatsoever. Also, at this time, he was possessing a very, very good job. He was back then a director of an art school in Vienna, so he was earning quite well. He designed a museum, but he needed to alternate his plans a few times because they were simply too big, they were too ambitious. The whole museum was supposed to be built out of some donations from the city and also some money which the building committee collected. So there was, like usual, a money problem. That's why he needed to alternate plans. And then, unfortunately, as already mentioned, he died in the year 1882. So he, similarly like his teachers, Van der Nul and Sickardsburg, he never had an opportunity to see his final work, his opus magnum, actually constructed to the end, finished. The building was afterwards carried out by another architect.